Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the WWE Raw Monday Night Raw live post show on the Ango show here on YouTube, as well being simulcasted on youtube.com/BillyTKO. Billy, Raw
Yes,
just
sir.
concluded. Jinder Mahal has been hindered by Seth Rollins. Lots to discuss. But first and foremost, brother, how are you doing? I see the Lions beanie.
I
Must be in
had
a good
to.
mood. Good
Oh,
mood?
dude, I'm as excited as I possibly could be. My Lions, your Lions too. They're heading into the divisional round of the playoffs. That's huge. That's huge.
Yeah, they're getting one step closer to the championship. Unfortunately, Seth Rollins is still holding the belt, and it doesn't look like Damian Priest is getting closer by the looks of it. But
Yeah.
lots to discuss, guys. If you're new here, go ahead and click that subscribe button. If you guys want to support the channel, feel free to drop a super chat. It guarantees that your questions and comments get read on the stream. And if you don't want a super chat, or you can't do a super chat, or you can't become a member, or any of those things, that's completely fine. But just go ahead and slap that thumbs up button for us.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Billy,
sir.
Monday Night Raw. It's January 15th, 2024. We're going to talk about the nitty gritty, but just overall first opinions, reactions to what you saw tonight.
That was a good main event for what it was, and like what people thought it was going to be. Because I remember Twitter last week. I didn't forget.
Yeah.
For what it was, that was a lot of fun. Good stuff. And the one thing I will say is it popped me.
It did.
Because
Why?
I for sure thought, I was like, yo. I was like, all right, I see what you guys did there. Okay. All right. Yeah, it popped me good. I jumped out in my seat a little bit. I was like, yo, he's about to pin Seth.
I got to give a lot of appreciation and praise to WWE here because of the fact that this was a main event where they could have gone about it 100 different ways. And, you know, I swear, man, I hate to say this, but if it was Vince McMahon, I feel like we would have 1000% saw Jinder Mahal win just to do it in spite of Tony Khan.
Yeah, I was about to say just after Twitter, we would have seen that.
Yeah, the good thing here though was the way that they produced this match. First and foremost, I think people should really respect Jinder Mahal for what he can do, but also the selling was the big thing. The psychology here of trying to sell me, that Jinder Mahal could potentially win. And I really like the fact that throughout the night when I was watching Raw today, Michael Cole on commentary was kind of talking about it like, hey, he shocked the world with Randy Orton.
Yeah.
This is not impossible. And then it was really dope because they kind of made mention of it a little bit too when Veer and Sangha came out with him.
Yes.
Which again, WWE's not insulting our intelligence. Months ago, they all showed up together. Now they're together when it matters.
Right, exactly.
So I did appreciate that. I really did. And I really appreciated the selling from Seth Rollins. That was the moment that popped me because he got hit with the briefcase or whatever. And that right there was kind of like the moment where I was like, oh, shit, they really might give it to Jinder. And logically speaking, if Jinder would have won right then and there, I mean, it's logical. He cheated, right?
Right,
but
exactly.
the sense that Seth Rollins kind of became like a Superman type of guy, and he was able to get it done.
Now, I do have a lot of questions though of where they go after this.
After this match,
yeah, I do.
I mean,
I genuinely have like a lot of questions of where it can go.
well, brother, I watched all 3 hours of Raw, and I can tell you that I can tell you the World Heavyweight Championship picture has never been better.
It's perfectly fine, but they haven't. I mean, maybe Shinsuke. Would I be crazy for saying Shinsuke
For him to win the belt?
No. I'm talking
Against
about
Seth.
at the Rumble. Yes. Because that's what I'm not talking about who can win the belt. I know there's a lot of people who can win the belt. I'm talking about at the Rumble.
Oh, brother, I don't think they get away from the plan. I think it's Seth and Punk at WrestleMania.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I'm talking about who's he defending it against at the Rumble. There's still no match at the Rumble.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's the beauty of next week, right?
Damian
Priest and Drew McIntyre will go one-on-one.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of ways they can go about it, but they haven't necessarily set it up. I think they have set it up, but it's not directly being told to you. I think it's very clear.
I was about to say it's not plain sight.
Yeah, it's not in plain sight, which I kind of like that, to be honest. Because the reason why I would be willing to excuse that really is because if you look at the build to the Royal Rumble right now, there's a lot of importance and a lot of stories being told within the Rumble itself.
Yeah.
I'll give it to WWE. This is hands down the best build to a Royal Rumble match because the unpredictability here. I mean, everybody wants to win the Royal Rumble. Everybody wants to finish their story. And I love that. That was one of the big things I want to talk about tonight, too, which we'll get into. But with
Yeah.
Drew McIntyre and Cody Rhodes in the beginning of the show, it's not just Cody that has to finish his story. Drew McIntyre has a story to finish. Shinsuke
Same time.
Nakamura's video package, he has a story to finish. All of these guys want to win the Rumble and go to the main event of WrestleMania. And it just seems like way more important this year. And that's obviously, it's funny because when we watched a little bit of that main event, I'm like, okay, Jinder Mahal lost. Is there a way that they can keep Jinder Mahal involved, even if he's not going to have another match at the pay-per-view? Because they can always go that route of a
booking
rematch.
those two, right? Yep.
I think they can always go that route, obviously.
Well, I did see Nick Aldis. I did see his tweet.
Yeah.
Wishing Jinder good luck.
Contract tampering at its finest.
Man, play into it.
Yeah,
play
I
into
like
it.
it.
He wants Jinder. Jinder's in the main event. Hey, you can come over to my show and you could be a star. I'll make you a star.
That. I like that.
I was a big fan of that.
And you know what? Maybe this is the time where WWE does a trade, right? It's
look,
you have general managers for a reason.
Yeah. I am interested to see. You want to make a shock trade, not to jump into fantasy booking, but you want to make a shock trade because there's another story that needs to be told that is being told quietly, but isn't really being told the way that it should be in my eyes. You want to make a shock trade, you put Jay back on SmackDown.
No.
Because him and Jimmy need to get together.
Yeah, so I get where you're going with it.
Yeah.
Okay, so actually here, without giving it too much thought, it could make sense because Aldis has a vendetta against the bloodline.
Exactly.
If he brought Jay to SmackDown, it wouldn't be a bad idea for them to go the route of Jay and Jinder being moved to SmackDown in exchange for one or two more talents going to Raw.
Right. Exactly.
Obviously,
LA Knight, for instance. I'm just saying if you want to, because I get it, there's a draft and stuff like that that'll probably happen after WrestleMania and stuff like that. But I'm saying if you want to speedline these, because yes, I still need to see Jay and Jimmy at Mania. And I need to know how. I get it. They're like kind of hinting at it through Twitter, like the no yeet and yeet stuff.
Yeah. I would hold off on that. I wouldn't do that until maybe around Elimination Chamber time because I wouldn't want to go into a very, very long build.
Right.
But I could see with Aldis and the way that he is towards Roman Reigns and the bloodline, I could see that being a very big move. The thing with that move, though, is it makes Aldis a very big babyface GM. And I'm not sure that's the route that they want to go, considering Aldis is kind of like a really big tweener / heel.
Yeah.
But I really did like the fact with the contract thing with Jinder Mahal. And I like how, just overall, we're looking at this world title picture and Seth Rollins being Jinder Mahal was a fantastic idea. But at the same time, you got to keep Jinder, at the top of the card in some capacity.
Now,
and what I find,
you've given him this match, you have to keep him.
You've given him this match, and here's the thing: like you have Shinsuke who lost, right? Like it could become something post Royal Rumble, but I still think the idea that we were talking about last week with a new faction, that's like to me that would be, hey, these guys, they all have a reason to join up together. It's very logical. Yeah. I could see something fun being done there. But who knows, right? Like that's the one thing I will say. It's very unpredictable. And I like the fact that Damian Priest, and we'll talk a lot about Damian Priest tonight, guys, because Damian Priest and the Judgment Day continue to have some great stuff on TV. But seeing Damian Priest, like part of me is thinking like, like when are you going to cash this bad boy in? And I know we talked before about Raw after WrestleMania, or maybe even doing it at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
I thought for sure they would do it tonight because they were competing against Monday Night Football.
I felt like this was the best opportunity. But again, this also, for me, it kind of clarifies a lot of things.
Like what?
It clarifies that, number one, Triple H has a plan in mind. And I don't believe anything is going to hinder, no pun intended, is going to hinder that plan.
Yeah, 100%.
Nothing, no Monday Night Football, none of that is going to, which tells me, and I'm just not to get super passionate about it, but Cody and Roman at WrestleMania kind of tells me that that's exactly where they're going to be going.
Yeah, no, I will say you could tell Triple H is not a reactionary booker.
Yes.
The Vince McMahon that we all know that would book Raw would be very reactionary. Triple H has already proved to us. I mean, there's a lot of evidence to support this, but Triple H has already proven to us he does book long term.
Yep.
Yes, there might be things that come up and get in the way, but it's very obvious the way Triple H books his shows. He has a plan. He's going to get to it regardless. And I personally appreciate that because I'm going to be honest with you. When I watched today's episode of Raw, I wasn't too overly excited about it. And it's not that it was a bad Raw or a great Raw or anything like that. I think right now it's like you're not going to see WWE throw every great piece of content on a night like tonight where there's heavy competition. It's just not going to happen. But everything like pushed stories forward. Everything kind of made sense. Everything kind of had a purpose, which I will continue to say Triple H does that extremely well. But there were some things where I'm just like, it's just whatever.
Right.
It's whatever.
Not to completely jump off topic, but another thing that really got me excited tonight was Rhea Ripley and Becky Lynch.
Yeah, I definitely want to talk about that as well.
Yeah.
Because I think they, again, long-term plan, that match ain't happening until WrestleMania.
No.
And Becky Lynch is sure as hell ain't winning the Royal Rumble.
No.
And I love it. I love
Yeah.
it. And actually, I want to read this to you.
Okay.
I'm not going to take credit for this, but I saw this tweet and it was just something it was like something in my head that I thought was like very unique, but I couldn't find the exact words of how I would like word it. And I feel like this person did it very well. So at Big Time EST on Twitter, I found this so interesting. Becky Lynch says she needs to win the Royal Rumble face to face. I'm sorry. I read that wrong. Woo. Becky Lynch says she needs to win the Royal Rumble to face Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania, but she doesn't seem confident. Rhea just tells her, I'll see you at WrestleMania. Rhea has more faith in Becky winning the Royal Rumble than Becky does. And in my head, the way I kept positioning this was I was like, oh my God, we're starting to see Becky Lynch, this character who has a lot of confidence, all of a sudden not be so confident
it's because
about herself.
Nia Jax.
Well, and so here's the thing, right?
Yeah.
Becky Lynch shouldn't win the Royal Rumble.
No.
Give the Royal Rumble to Bayley, but allow this to be that big babyface moment. Rhea Ripley needs to drop that belt at some point.
Yeah.
Becky wins the chamber, finds her confidence, and goes on to wrestle Rhea Ripley, which, by the way, if this was a normal year in pro wrestling, if this was a normal year without CM Punk and Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest and Roman and Cody, yes, this would be a WrestleMania main event.
Yeah.
Let's not get that confused. This is a very big match. And guess what? Last year, it was rumored that this was the match that Triple H wanted for 2024 WrestleMania 40. Yep. So to me, it tells me, and WWE planted the seed a while ago, but it confirms what I've been saying about Triple H does plan long-term and he gets there. And what I love about this, what I really, really love about this is I think Becky Lynch, she kind of needed to get into a different gear, kind of find something a little bit different, you kind of got to.
Because it was too, I think bringing back Nia and, completely just dwindling her character a little bit says so much.
But it's perfect when she gets that win. And that's why I think I'm very, very excited about this. And truth be told, guys, I think, again, this wasn't like a overly crazy Raw for me. Personally speaking, I enjoyed it. But, it wasn't like, oh my God, we're going to throw everything at you. And so when I watch a 3-hour Raw and they do these little things and these like little segments or these little, like these little elements to the show that make me feel like, hey, there is a purpose to this. I appreciate that. It's like, it's the consistency thing. And I appreciate that out of Triple H. And with this Becky and Rhea Ripley thing, bro, Billy, I'm going to tell you, dead ass, honestly, like I genuinely mean this. This is a match that excites me. Just because I know both of them in the ring will go very hard. They will have a fantastic match. I understand that. But I don't think people realize the magnitude of this match. And when you give this little bit of a deeper story where Becky has to find her inner self to get it done, it's not just a feel-good story when she eventually does, but it also at the same time continues to give credibility to Rhea Ripley. And
I'm I'm going to be 100% transparent with you. And the more that you're sitting here saying all this, the more I'm thinking about it. And I think it's because of what you just said, that feel-good moment. The more I'm thinking about WrestleMania and how this is going to be a WrestleMania for the baby faces.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree. Well, and you have to, man. You gotta,
Yeah.
I think. Well, that's why I like the idea of Damian Priest cashing in at WrestleMania,
Yeah.
but because that would be the thing where people probably wouldn't be as happy. But
right.
And we're gonna talk about Damian Priest, guys, because there's some stuff cooking with Judgment Day,
There
but
is a lot.
But let's get back to that for a second. The babyface thing at WrestleMania. This is the one year where WWE has multiple top baby faces in their company.
Yeah.
And that is not something we're used to as fans. And so I think you have all these great baby faces. They're all selling merchandise. They're all becoming top names. You got to have some very big stories or very big moments conclude WrestleMania. And I think that's going to be really huge. And I see the chat's talking about it. I see Mike in the chat is talking about it, but Bayley, right? Damage Control. That's a story that's long burn.
Yeah. Yeah. And then she's saying Rhea. We all know it's not really going to be Rhea.
So here's the cool thing, right? Let's say Bayley goes to WrestleMania. She gets her singles match with Io Sky, or, not only is it great for Io Sky to have that massive WrestleMania match, but even if she loses, it's okay if she loses, right? Because of the story. But Bayley winning would be a massive babyface moment. And then, of course, Becky beating Rhea. Guys, I think this is going to be one of the greatest WrestleManias of all time. And it's not because it's not just because, there's great wrestlers, top baby faces, top heels. But Billy, you know what it comes down to? It comes down to these 3-hour episodes of Raw that may not have the same amount of excitement or hype as some of these other episodes that they've done. But it's the storytelling that's included with it. And if you pay attention to it, it
progresses.
It really does. It really does. And that's why I was saying it's not like today was a bad episode, but I just wasn't. I wasn't like, oh my God, what an amazing episode. But in terms of watching it for 3 hours, I was like, okay, everything made sense. Everything kind of had a purpose. Akira Tozawa.
I genuinely watched for the main event. Like, that was why I watched tonight, at least, right? I watched because I was so intrigued by the idea of what could happen during the main event. But they kept me so hooked all the way through the show. And I think that needs to be spoke about, right? I think that's something that needs to be highlighted. The fact that, again, for like a casual viewer, right?
No.
Who instantly feeling like they can be involved is very important. And I feel like a casual viewer can just hop in whenever. Again, not to change the topic on you. I know you were going somewhere with yours, and I don't mean to cut you off. But yeah, I really think that those things should be highlighted. The fact that a 3-hour show can move with such good pace. It's hard to do. It's hard to
100%. Well, and there's obviously other things that we'll talk about too, but just a lot of progression. This was a progression show for me. It wasn't the most exciting show. It was a progression show. And for me, I don't need, which, by the way, I will say, Billy, did you hear Michael Cole on commentary when opening up Raw tonight?
No, maybe I missed
it.
it.
See, a lot of people did not catch this.
Yeah.
Michael Cole mentioned that it was a lighter crowd in Little Rock, Arkansas. Due to the snowstorm.
Yes.
So
that says something about a company.
That says a lot about this company, which obviously for those who don't, if you don't live under a rock, you would know that a lot of parts of the United States were hit with crazy snowstorms.
Yeah, like us.
We got hit with it, snowed in for a couple days. Now roads are clear or whatever, but it's like -2 degrees. Little Rock, Arkansas got it. But it was funny because Michael Cole mentioned that it was a lighter crowd. And that's why I don't judge shows by crowds. There's a lot that could go into it. But I thought this crowd at times was really, really good. And at times there was really, really bad. But it was really funny because I knew tonight watching Raw, and this is kind of what I want to talk with you about before we move on to different segments and stuff.
Yeah.
But the opening segment with Drew McIntyre and Cody Rhodes set me on fire because we are seeing not only progression with Drew McIntyre, but we're talking about Royal Rumbles. We're talking about World Championships. And I gave a lot of praise to AEW, and I'm giving a lot of praise to WWE here. I'm very fascinated by this idea that everybody wants the World Championship.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that Drew McIntyre and Cody Rhodes really dug into the real life history of them. It
and
shows
talked about the past and everything in the WWE with the two of them,
for sure.
their
Tag
comeback and
team.
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Another thing that I actually texted you about with Drew McIntyre that I really wanted to hone in on here is I feel like we're witnessing the downfall, like the actual like he's losing his mind, like he's going insane.
Yeah.
Like I've talked about it numerous times, but I genuinely feel like we are witnessing in front of our eyes what's going to happen. And that man is going to cost somebody something important. And I think
It's-
you mentioned it.
I think it goes down to Damian Priest.
Yes.
I think the Drew McIntyre and Judgment Day thing is incredible, but one thing that nobody seems to be talking about in regards to the Judgment Day is our truth. Because
Mhm.
I hate to say that WWE is copying their own storyline with the bloodline, but I feel like they are taking a lot of
What they did
that.
there.
They're taking a lot of what worked there and they're turning it into something gold here, which it's
Yeah.
working. It's clearly
Right.
working. Our
Mhm.
truth paying out Damian Priest, which that's actually a lot more significant than I think people realize. And I want to talk about that too, and we'll get to that in a second.
Yeah.
But you have Damian Priest paying off the Judgment Day with merch sales where he's bootleg merch. Sounds like some Earl Hebner shit.
Dude, I love it.
But here's the thing, you get this, and then you have, the cash in at the end where Damian Priest gets attacked by Drew McIntyre, which I'm not going
Yep.
to lie to you. I found this to be a very dumb choice by Drew McIntyre because it was confirmed next week he has a match with Damian Priest. So,
Right.
so technically speaking, Drew McIntyre is a guy who's lost all these matches for the title, and he already has a match next week with Damian Priest. Why not help
Mhm.
Damian Priest cash in so that match becomes a world championship match?
Championship match. Right.
But to also be fair, as logical as that would be, and as stupid as Drew McIntyre was for that, kayfabe wise,
Right.
um, I'm excited because I think Drew McIntyre is jealous. And I think Drew McIntyre knows that Damian Priest has the chance to become a champion. And at this point, if Drew McIntyre can't do it on his own, he doesn't want to see anybody else do it. And that's why
That's
he's
what
getting
yeah.
involved with the Judgment Day.
That's why he's getting involved with everybody.
He's
Because
picking
everybody's
fights
on
and
this run for the title.
yes. He's picking
Yes.
battles with guys where it's
Because
fantastic
it
to
started
watch.
with Jay. It started with Jay.
It did.
Or
It
it
went
might
from Jay. It started
to
with Jay.
Sammy.
So
And then went
Sammy,
to
Jay,
Sammy.
Cody, now obviously
CM
Priest
Punk.
and CM Punk. Yeah.
He wants everybody. And I believe full-heartedly that we are witnessing the downfall of this man and about to watch him sabotage something big because he keeps sabotaging these little small things, right?
Yeah, he is
So
he's doing all these little side quests, but it happens to be a whole bunch of side quests with the guys that want the world championship. And I think this is
right.
going to turn into one of the most explosive angles that people don't see coming yet. And I
Yep.
like the fact that Drew McIntyre's story in a way doesn't really have involvement with the Judgment Day, like for his own personal mission, but the Judgment Day is in his way. So it's not
Yeah.
like Drew McIntyre is going after just baby faces. He's also going after heels, which we got to remember. The Judgment
Right.
Day are heels. We got to remind
Yep.
ourselves that.
Yep.
So I love the fact that Drew is not really a heel or a baby face, but I do
He's
think
just
this leads
going
to
against
something.
it. He's going against the grain is what's happening here. My bad for cutting you off.
Yeah. Yeah. So he's doing it his way and he's going his
Mhm.
route. And yeah, I think it really does lead to something explosive towards WrestleMania. And I think, there's a purpose for this. And it just goes to show you how Triple H is planning everything. But that's why it's kind of fun when you get those irregular matches with Jinder Mahal and Seth, because it's like, hey, hold on. They might fuck with you a little bit right here. What if they did give it to Jinder? Like, you don't
Yeah.
know what's going to happen. This is the most unpredictable thing I've seen from WWE. And ultimately,
Mhm.
it's going to lead with Seth Rollins losing the belt.
Yep. Uh-huh. Eventually Seth is going to lose that belt and they're going to call it what it is. I am very excited.
100%. Yeah. Obviously, a lot of stuff is happening on Raw, and I definitely want to talk about a lot of things. If you guys have questions or comments or anything like that, feel free to jump in and throw a super chat. obviously a lot of stuff tonight on Raw that really made me excited was the fact that, again, there's a lot of progression. But for me personally speaking, I personally enjoyed watching WWE seem focused. It seems like they were very focused tonight on pushing the angles and the stories that they want to do. And I have definitely a lot of things to praise. However, I also have something to criticize too, because truth be told, part of the criticism is part of the criticism, that I have for Raw is like everything's being progressed, but then like, you know, everything has a purpose, but then I see like Akira Tozawa and Ivar, and I'm thinking like, is this really the best way to push these people forward, right? Um,
Hmm.
and Billy, I'm curious, like, I thought everything kind of was progressive. I feel like they did a good job of progressing a lot of stuff, but then tonight we got Akira Tozawa beating Ivar. And yes, it was fairly logical, and yes, it made a lot of sense. And now it's going to lead to um, Valhalla versus Ivy Nile next week, and then
Yeah.
obviously Chad Gable versus Ivar next week. But it just seems like this was the one particular storyline that's happening on TV where I get it. They're showcasing Ivar as a singles guy, which is fantastic. And I see them also, showcasing the Creeds and Alpha Academy. But this is the one thing where it's like, what's the point of this? Like, I feel like there could be a better way of utilizing these guys on TV right now.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. I agree. I feel like Chad Gable, number one, should be in something just a tad bit different.
Especially coming off of the stuff with Gunther. But I feel
Right.
like this is all a placeholder until he gets back to that. I still think he's going to dethrone Gunther.
Do you still think he's the guy for Gunther?
I do. I do.
Yeah, I mean, and then everything with Valhalla and stuff like that. I mean, it's all questionable right now. It's all up in the air. I mean, it's something that we're going to see about here soon. I'll tell you that. But
Yeah.
again, you just kind of you hope and you want to trust the process, and that's kind of where I stand with this. Is just wanting to trust the process.
100%. And that's the thing with WWE right now is everything is long-term plan, and there is a plan for everything. And that's why the reactionary fans in the IWC that are just they need to find something happening like right now to make them happy.
Yeah.
Those fans will never be satisfied with this product. And I will
No.
tell you off the rip, if you're one of those people where you're like, oh, this has happened right now, that's not happening, my friends. It's not going to happen. I can assure you that it's not going to happen because WWE doesn't want to give it to you right now.
Right.
It's I always go back to that Paul Heyman comment, like a year ago. Hey, we're in the third inning or whatever the hell it is. Like
Yeah.
that's what WWE is. WWE is always in the third inning. Like they're not
And they're
trying
never
to
coming
complete
out
the
of
game.
it.
They're never
Yeah, they're
coming out
never
of it.
coming out of it. Yep.
This is an MLB game that's in extra innings at all times. Like the game
Right.
just keeps going. And for me, I'm patient, but that's where I was just a little bit more hesitant to be like, okay, Akira Tozawa beat Ivar. It was logical the way they did it. It was cool, whatever.
Yeah.
But like, I look at Chad Gable having those serious matches with Gunther, and I'm like, okay, how do we get back to that?
Right.
Because in the same token, Bronson Reed didn't wrestle tonight, but Bronson Reed had a video package where he says he's going after a champion who doesn't know it yet.
Yep.
And so now I kind of want to bring this back to Elimination Chamber and the Judgment Day.
Okay.
Bronson Reed's going after Seth Rollins. Bronson Reed
hun-
versus Seth Rollins at Elimination Chamber in Perth.
In
They're going to
Australia.
build up.
Yeah.
They're going to do it. And then I think what's interesting there is they're going to build up Bronson Reed, and obviously he'll get in the mix as well, which I think will be important. He obviously didn't call for Seth Rollins yet, but it's either Seth Rollins or Gunther. He just kind of did the Gunther thing. I'm curious to see if they go with Bronson Reed versus Seth Rollins at Elimination Chamber. This way, they can keep the storyline going for Judgment Day, R-Truth, Drew McIntyre, Damian Priest, cash in, and whoever wins the Royal Rumble to WrestleMania. Because that to me sounds like what WWE is going to do. I think they are very certain that it's CM Punk versus Seth Rollins, and they're not going to
Yeah.
get away from that. And
Yeah,
everything
no, they're
everything else is going to be there, and,
Yeah.
that's kind of how they do it.
Yeah. I fully agree.
Very, very interesting stuff. There was a super chat from Michael Crawley. Shout out to Michael, $10 super chat. Michael says, how about this, guys? Rumble's final 6 go to Chamber. Jimmy, Jay, Cody among the 6. Jimmy and Jay brawl in Rumble and Chamber. Set up WrestleMania and for Cody versus Roman as well. All the best. Billy, I have my own opinions on this, but I will let you respond first. The floor is yours, sir.
So yeah, I mean, I don't see it being a bad thing. I like the idea of Jimmy and Jay. I think I talked about it earlier, right? I think we need to find a way to get them together and get them there. I guess there's no better way than this. It still doesn't fully explain 100% what I'm looking for, and it doesn't logically explain to me, at least, why they would be feuding, considering Jay is back on Raw. I get it, family and everything like that. I do know that, but I genuinely feel like that something, just a little tad piece, would be missing here to not fully explain why we got Jimmy and Jay. But I do like Cody being in it. I think I've said that for most of what it is. I do believe that Cody would go on in the Chamber and win the Chamber.
So what's interesting is Gunther is going to be in the Royal Rumble, and
Yeah.
a lot of praise for him because of the way he was the Iron Man last year. Obviously, he stayed the entire thing. I would like to see 3 people from Raw, 3 people from Chamber, or 3 people from SmackDown in the Chamber. It doesn't have to be the final 6, but 3 and 3. And for Raw, I do like the idea of Jimmy being in the Chamber. I like the idea of Cody being in the Chamber because I think Cody has to win the Chamber. I also like the idea of them throwing in Chad Gable because of the fact that Chad Gable is a great competitor. This could be one of those things where it's like, hey, go in there, look really good because we're going to get you back into the
It could be
Intercontinental
one of those
Championship.
Mustafa Ali moments.
Yes.
Or the Kofi Kingston moments. Yep, I got you.
Yeah. And then I think from the SmackDown side, I do like the idea of Jay being in the Chamber. I think that would actually be very significant. Jay and Jimmy, realistically, I think they should be in the Chamber, and I think their beef should be put on notice in this match. Like there should be a spot where they're both face to face and they just start brawling, and that's why they don't win the Chamber. And then actually, what I do think is very nice about this particular scenario is that Jey Uso doesn't have to move to SmackDown. Jimmy Uso could stay on SmackDown. This is a cross promotion match. Nick Aldis and Adam Pearce agree to allow them to wrestle at WrestleMania. Jimmy represents SmackDown. Jey Uso represents Raw. And at the end of the day, it kind of gets the GMs involved.
Can you imagine an unsanctioned match between the two of them?
I don't know if that's the route that they would go, but it wouldn't be a bad idea for them to do some sort of stipulation.
Yeah,
Maybe they do some sort of what do they call it? Tribal. What do they call it at SummerSlam?
Tribal combat.
Tribal combat. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, they could do something like that.
Yeah, count me in.
It's a variety of stuff, obviously, that they can do, but I think you could do that. I think Jimmy could be from the SmackDown side if you really want. You could have Karrion Kross on there. Just whoever you're trying to get, maybe even Bobby Lashley. You want this to be a match that has the Chamber match has to be a match that has top talent, but also really, really good talent from an in-ring perspective.
And very unpredictable people, I feel like.
Yes.
Like in the sense of like, oh, like this person could win.
So and so that's the thing, right? Like Cody has to win the Chamber. Cody has to win the Chamber to get to WrestleMania. The Royal Rumble can be won by anybody, but Cody doesn't need to win the Royal Rumble. Cody Rhodes needs to. I think it's going to be Punk that wins the Rumble, Cody that wins the Chamber.
So do I.
But if you look at how things are shaping up on TV today on Raw, and then you see what they're going to do at the Royal Rumble, I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity for WWE to create storylines and matches for WrestleMania based on what happens in the Rumble and what happens in the Elimination Chamber.
100%. I mean, this is definitely the time where stories are about to, start being made and stuff like that. So,
which they've already started doing already. Like there's some stuff clearly. Becky and Rhea has already kind of been for like a year now. They've kind of planted the seed, but this is one of those things with WWE. You got to start something new. And so, like you brought up the Jimmy and Jay thing, how do you get there? Well, you don't have to be on SmackDown. Adam Pearce and Nick Aldis can come to an agreement. And look, maybe it gives them an incentive to have Adam Pearce and Nick Aldis really want the specific Uso to win, right? Adam Pearce would want Jey Uso to win so he doesn't lose to SmackDown.
Right.
Like you can kind of do those things. And obviously, it's going to be really important for WWE to get this right because if CM Punk wins the Royal Rumble, I don't think people will be mad. I think if Cody Rhodes wins the Elimination Chamber, I don't think people will be mad. but can you make other people look good in this match coming out of it in the process look better? And we saw that with Gunther last year at the Royal Rumble. Now, who do they do that with this year? And so that's where I'm curious. Maybe it's Bronson Reed. Maybe it is Karrion Kross. Maybe it is Bobby Lashley. So, Michael, to answer your question, what I would do is 3-3. I would have Jimmy, Karrion Kross, and Bobby Lashley from the SmackDown side. Because you got the Karrion Kross Bobby Lashley thing. They're feuding, right? So that can make a lot of sense. I think from the Raw side, you have Jay, Cody, and I mean, you could throw Bronson Reed in there if he doesn't get that massive singles match at Chamber.
But
I think Chad Gable would probably be a fun one to see. And that's kind of how I would go about it. But personally speaking, that's what I think. And I think you still get Cody and Roman at WrestleMania by doing this.
Absolutely.
Shout out to Michael for the super chat. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Billy, I want to talk to you about DIY versus Tom and Nick Mysterio and JD McDonough.
Tom and Nick, baby. Tom and Nick.
So this was a very really quick before we talk about that. Lucky Kratos just mentioned Randy has to be in the Chamber. Yes, that you could do Randy instead of Lashley or Karrion. You could have him replace. Right. That's fair. Totally fair. Yeah. But let me ask you. So DIY finally starting to get more reactions week over week. They're starting to get more reactions.
Dude.
Pretty lengthy match. They defeat Tom and Nick Mysterio and JD McDonough, big head, and just want to get your opinions on this.
I mean, this is something that I wanted to talk about a little bit ago, and it's something that I kind of like am seeing right now, and I'm seeing that I'm wrong, Ango.
Explain.
We did a live stream. We predicted things.
Okay.
And I predicted, I said, the Creed brothers, I said that. Yeah. I did. I said that out loud.
You did. Yeah.
And we agreed on it, right? But we just different answers, a little backwards, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, DIY should walk out of WrestleMania with them belts.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's just
they got to split up those belts though. It's very clear that they're warming up that tag team division. It's very clear if you're watching TV every single week, you're seeing an improvement with the tag division. But DIY has to walk out with those belts. And the good thing is they're getting over. Like I said, this was a lighter crowd. They faced weather issues. They had their really good moments of where they were really into things, and they had their moments where it wasn't as crazy.
But they really put on a good match tonight.
And they earned that response from the fans. And
yes,
just a lot of praise needs to go to JD McDonough and Tommaso Ciampa. And actually all four of these guys, but really the beginning with Johnny Gargano and JD McDonough was like a very slow pace, like, hey, we're going to wrestle a little bit. And they're getting like technical. That was like the perfect way to start this match, because it just kept going and going and going. And with every few moments, it was like, oh, okay, whoa, like what the hell? Like that was cool. And then it was just like, it just kept progressing as the time went on in this match. And it was really good, man. And Dominic Mysterio just, man, we're seeing this guy grow ahead. Like this guy, the way this guy is progressing is fantastic. But him
in a couple years, he's going to be one of the top talents in WWE.
100%.
100%. I mean, I see him at the top of the card eventually.
100%.
I think, I'm not going to sit here and say like, oh, this guy is going to be compared to his dad, blah, blah, blah. But I do believe that later down the line, you can give him that babyface run one day. I'm not saying right now, but one day you can. And I think it'll be cool for the fans. I think one day the fans will appreciate it.
I think right now, Dominic Mysterio, I don't like the fact that he gets compared to Rey. Obviously, that's his father, but I think Dominic Mysterio shows he's just so good with this character work, and then he's improving in the ring. It's different to me. But I will say, I think it was Wade Barrett who said it on commentary, and he said something about he's like Dominic Mysterio is one of the greatest luchadors in wrestling today. And it's like such a heel comment to make, because obviously, in a world where you have Vikingo and Dragon Lee and Commander and all these other
He's being compared to all of them.
no, they're saying that he's better, and it's just
Yeah.
it fits with Dominic Mysterio. But the cool thing is Dominic Mysterio is improving in the ring. I'm not saying he's on those guys' level, but Dominic Mysterio is a very strong character in WWE. So when I watch this match and I see DIYs getting over, I actually look at Dominic and JD McDonough being like, they're the reason why this is getting over. Because
right.
it's important that all four of them are going in there and making stuff happen. But you can really see the moments where the crowd gets excited. And the reason why it's not just the good wrestling moves, but it's like Dominic Mysterio, holding down the rope. So I think it was Gargano. He like fell through the rope or whatever. It's just like, then you see the moment where Ciampa and Gargano do their outside move, outside of the ring. They sit on the apron, they clap their hands and pat themselves on the back. And the crowd really liked it. So the cool thing is, when I look at WWE Raw, I see that the tag team division is heating up. It's getting better. It's not perfect, but it's getting there. What stops WWE from having a really significant tag team division is the fact that the tag titles are on
I was about to say
Judgment Day.
So the belt's not being separated, I think is what it is.
It has to separate.
Because if the Judgment Day had just the Raw tag titles, they'd be fine. You know what I mean? They would be moving right now. But the fact that both of those belts are sitting on the Judgment Day and Judgment Day hasn't been on SmackDown.
No.
Yeah, no. It does. Well, it's messing with the SmackDown stuff, right? Because now I'm seeing the authors of pain come in, and then them and the Street Profits. I'm sorry, I know that's going to be important. Looking at those, I know they're going to be important. You know what I'm saying?
And plus, they have Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne, and then they have Pretty Deadly and LWO and the new LWO. Like, they have the tag teams to do it. They got to split up these belts. And I'm just saying, I think it holds the tag team division back because you can argue back and forth, like who's going to be a significant tag team on Raw and SmackDown. And it's like DIY is going to be one of those top tag teams. It's very obvious. When Giovanni Vinci and Ludwig Kaiser, which we'll have to talk about Ludwig later, but if they want to keep Imperium together, that's another legit tag team. Sangha and Veer, another
are now
legit tag. They're actually on TV again. So
Veer has arrived.
He's come. So yeah, like this is the thing where they have these guys and you can't forget about the Creed brothers. And I think all of these guys can legitimately be tag team champions. But I think what you really want to do for DIY is let them go out there and have that big WrestleMania match. Because the truth is, and we've heard me say this, but let's just repeat it. WWE has to recondition their fans to understand that wrestling matters, especially in this tag team division. There's tons of different characters and a ton of different wrestlers. But when people watch tag team wrestling in WWE, what draws them in and what's getting DIY reactions right now is the cool stuff they do in the ring. So as you're reconditioning fans, what you have to do is have DIY go over at WrestleMania with the belts. But here's the good thing. DIY will have to drop those belts. That's where you think of, okay, you have Alpha Academy if Chad Gable doesn't do the single stuff. You have Veer and Sangha in this year. You have the Creed brothers. You have JD McDonough and Dominic Mysterio. You have Damian Priest and Finn Balor, which I think they'll go away once they drop the belts. But you have all these different tag teams. Plus, there's more you can call up. There's just the DIY. You'll see it's getting them over right now that they can wrestle and people are reacting to them, and it's getting a lot better for them. So the way I look at this is split up those belts before WrestleMania. And if I were WWE, I would actually do a tag team championship match at Elimination Chamber for, I don't know if I would do a tag team match in the Chamber because I don't know if I like
I don't know
that
how
idea.
you do. Yeah, I don't know how you do that.
It would be like a tornado tag match. Tornado tag match in the Chamber.
Maybe.
But you should do a tag team championship match at Elimination Chamber, and that should actually be the day it splits. It should be.
I like that.
I think you split it at Elimination Chamber.
I think you do one big shakeup before WrestleMania, and I think that's a big shakeup.
So here's the cool thing, right? Let's just play fantasy book. I'm not saying WWE is going to do this, but I'm going to run the scenario by you, and you tell me what you think.
Okay.
DIY versus the Creed. No, DIY versus Damian Priest and Finn Balor at Elimination Chamber. Okay, hear me out. The match takes place at Elimination Chamber. At Elimination Chamber, Nick Aldis looks at Adam Pearce and says, "Who says?" Again, he could be pissed off, like, "Hey, like who said you could book this match on our pay per view?
Right.
Like these, where's my guys at?" You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like he could
Yeah.
kind of be pissed off with that, and he could then put in a tag team into that match, and that's how you begin the split. Where
Yeah.
somebody, whether it's Street Profits, AOP, Pretty Deadly, whoever it may be, somebody's in that match, and if the Raw tag team wins, they get one set, and if the SmackDown tag team wins, like you could do an elimination tag match or something,
Yeah. I like
and
that idea.
you could do something like that. I'm not saying they have to
I,
do something like that. I think
but
there's
you
other ways that
easily
are
can.
better. But
Right.
yes, it's an easy setup. Like
Yep.
if I was a general manager of SmackDown, hey, like these belts aren't on my show all the time. Well, my guys aren't getting the chance to bring these belts. I don't
Right.
like that.
Yeah, and I need to get my guys into this because they deserve it just as much as your guys do. It's simple storytelling. I mean, you could really make it happen. You know what I mean?
There's a lot of ways to go about it, but for sure, 1000%, I really enjoyed this match. I thought it was awesome, but they got to
Yeah.
split up those tag titles. There's no
Yeah.
ifs, ands, or buts about it. The sooner, the better. Honestly, I might not even wait until Chamber. I would literally like the day after
Hey,
Royal
after the Royal
Rumble.
Rumble. Mm-hmm.
The day after the Royal Rumble, I would do it.
Yeah.
And the cool thing is, like, let's say DIY win the belts, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna have great matches with everybody, and that's fantastic. But then you gotta look at SmackDown. And part of me is thinking, like, what if, like, on SmackDown, Damian Priest like retained the SmackDown tag titles, whatever those titles are
Yeah.
called. What if
Yep.
Damian Priest and Finn Balor are moved to SmackDown and the other half of Judgment Day are on Raw?
Raw.
And
Yep.
this
And
and
that's
this
it.
is this is Nick Aldis being like, "Hey, like I don't care about Judgment Day's business. I care about SmackDown's
That's
business."
business. Right.
Like that could be kind of fire too. It kind of plays a
It
little
could
bit of a
be.
different dynamic, especially when
It
Damian
does.
Priest still has money in the bank.
Exactly.
He can always go back to Raw and cash in.
I
But
like it. I
Finn
like
Balor
it.
would be stuck on SmackDown, which
Right.
we were talking about trades and stuff like that. I mean, you could kind of make some sense out of it. I'm just
Yeah.
saying.
You can. You easily can.
Crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, oh man, oh man. I was a big fan of the show though overall. How about you?
Yeah, I thought it was a very solid Raw. Like I said, it
Yeah.
wasn't anything crazy, anything special, but it was solid.
Yeah.
Um, what was your reaction to um the it's gonna kill me now that I can't think of what it was literally on top of my mind. Oh my god. Oh yeah, Ludwig Kaiser. I literally said I was like, I want to
Oh,
talk about Ludwig Kaiser.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah, him and Xavier
Xavier
Woods.
Woods.
Yep.
Yeah. So today, guys, if you missed it, Going Through was coming out. He's going to be in the Royal Rumble. He's back. He's very proud of Ludwig Kaiser. He's very proud of him. So much so that Xavier Woods comes back from injury
Yep.
and he challenges Ludwig Kaiser to a match. And basically, Xavier Woods says, "Oh, do you need to ask your daddy for permission?" The crowd was
Yep.
hot for this.
Yeah.
Ludwig Kaiser, which was awesome. And I thought this was very significant. Another seed planted for a long-term thing. But Gunther just starts laughing. He hands him the microphone and walks out. So he practically like passed the reign. He's showing people he's put a lot of trust into
Trust
Ludwig
into him.
Kaiser,
Right.
that Ludwig doesn't need him. And I think that was very significant for something that we'll talk about in a minute. But what's your reaction to this promo? What's your reaction to this match? And then talk a little bit about that finish as well.
It signifies everything that I said last week about Ludwig Kaiser. I think it signifies that he is now being taken serious, like Ango just said. He will be next in line, in my personal opinion, for that Intercontinental Championship. Now, coming down to the segment, what did I think of this segment? Well, me personally, I thought this was a wonderful segment. I thought they played into everything that happened with Kofi Kingston last week. I thought it was important that they did something like this. I was really wondering because Xavier Woods was out and there was no obvious sight of him showing back up, but him coming back and now looking at the New Day, they look serious. The New Day look very, very serious. Seeing blood dripping down Xavier Woods, his face, Dude, I popped. I popped big.
Yeah, I don't really care for DQ finishes, but I like the fact that Xavier Woods snapped.
Yeah.
But then what was
Uh-huh.
really cool was the follow-up too after the match, right?
Yeah.
Brawling around, Ludwig gets chased outside. Then they show Kelly Kincaid trying to interview Xavier
Yep.
Woods, and Ludwig Kaiser goes and attacks him. Um, I'm really not sure if I want Gunther to hold the Intercontinental Championship until August for Bash at Berlin. I really don't know if that's what I would do, just because it's such a long title reign. And personally
Yeah.
speaking, I'm kind of tired of long title reigns, just a
Yes.
little bit. Not
Yes.
not that I hate it, but it's like it's okay to freshen things up. And this is one of
Yeah.
those things with Gunther, you got to do it the right way. However, I look at Ludwig Kaiser right now as a very good heel. However, the more you see Ludwig Kaiser, I would never be opposed to him being the baby face that takes out Gunther. He
Yep.
eventually snaps because
Yep.
Gunther is giving him all of this trust now. And because he's giving him this trust and he's showing him, hey, like you could do this on your own. What if it bites Gunther in his ass? And
Yep. Uh-huh. Don't trust him too much.
they had a lot of credibility. They've added a lot of credibility in 2 weeks to Ludwig Kaiser.
Yep. Very fast.
I will also say New Day, because we haven't talked about them when I was talking about the tag team division.
Yep.
The New Day can have tag team bangers all day.
With
However,
anybody.
I need to see them turn heel.
Yeah. I mean,
I need to see them turn heel. I'm
I
gonna
think
be honest.
this is it. This is the seed being planted for that.
I don't know if that's the case, but I do like a more serious Xavier Woods, and I think Kofi Kingston historically has always been good as well. So for me personally, I think there's a lot of baby faces in WWE. There's a
Yeah.
lot of baby faces in the tag team division. I would love to see these guys go heel at some point. And
Yeah.
the thing is, I know why it's difficult. They are such a big business, a positive business influence for WWE.
Yeah.
But Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston to me really strike me as guys who would be legit as heels. And to see Xavier Woods snap tonight was awesome because it was a little bit of a different feel to the New Day. But I personally am kind of over, like when I hear the New Day theme song, entrance song, I'm kind of over it now. And that's not a shot towards these guys. Like I think they're fantastic, and I don't think they're booked poorly at all. I thought the booking was really good. I like how they're building the storyline with them and Imperium, and it makes a lot of sense, and it's really
But it
good.
is
And
overplayed.
it's not that it's overplayed, but it's just like it just, if you freshen it up, I think it could make for a very interesting tag team division when those belts split.
Right.
And so is Ludwig Kaiser the reason why they do turn heel? That's an
Like I said.
interesting it's
Like
an
I said,
interesting theory,
you
man.
never know. You never know. It seems like something that could possibly and potentially happen.
I think it needs to happen.
Yeah, so do I. I think them coming out in the red, the very black and red, the
Yeah.
dark, give them that look. It I don't know what will happen with Big E, or what they will eventually.
And so that's also tough because if Big E comes back, he's a
Yeah,
babyface.
yeah, he's gonna have one of the biggest babyface reactions ever if he does come back.
So that's another issue, right? Do you keep Big E in the New Day or do you let him go off and do his own thing? Which,
Let him go off and do his own thing now.
this is tough, man. This is tough when groups break up. And this is the thing that I find challenging with the Judgment Day, too. It's like
Mhm.
the Judgment Day will eventually break up. How do all of these guys do once they're broken up?
Yeah.
Like JD McDonough doesn't have to be a winner, but JD McDonough fits in this group the way that they're booked and everything.
Yeah.
Dominic Mysterio, I think he could have a good singles run at some point, but I really love the pairing with him and Rhea Ripley. So
I
maybe
think
this
they're
is
gonna stay with him and Rhea. It kind of reminds me of Eddie and China.
yeah, I feel like we talked about this before and I was kind of
Yeah.
against it, but the more and more that I think about it, it wouldn't be a bad idea for them to go that route.
Mm-hmm.
Just because honestly it works and it's so
Yeah.
over. But at some
It's
point,
such a
Damien and
simple
Finn.
story to tell.
Yeah, and Damien and Finn have to break up at some point, which again, a year ago they've already planted the seeds, So it's a very, very interesting time for WWE because again, anything could really happen. But I just want to see things get freshened up just a little bit here. And
Yeah.
so if you have the New Day turn heel, the good thing is the New Day could be the heel tag team on Raw that, gives DIY a hard time. that gives the Creed brothers a hard time. These are the
Right.
two teams that you're trying to get over as babyface tag teams. They would benefit from versing. First of all, the New Day fucking awesome in the ring.
Oh
So
yeah.
that's huge. But also on the microphone, they're really good. And being heel, it elevates DIY. When Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston turn heel one day, if they do, whoever's that babyface tag team feuding with them automatically is going to fucking
Yep.
people. These guys will be so good to get them over as babyfaces.
Yep. Uh-huh.
So
Put them in the place that they need to be.
I love that possibility, but that's why it's intriguing to see what happens with Judgment Day because, if they lose the tag team titles and people, this kind of went over people's heads today, but Damian Priest was, and I do want to talk about this and we'll get to it in a second too, but Damian Priest walked past Rhea Ripley and the way Rhea Ripley looked at him, unhappy. And it kind of goes back to the R-Truth thing. Damian Priest is the only one who's starting to trust R-Truth.
Yeah.
Nobody else really cares about this guy. Damian Priest got his money. He's cool with it. He'll defend him a little bit. Finn Balor made that remark. I think there's something fucking there, man. I think there's something there. I think this is, and the cool thing is with Damian and Finn Balor, I hate this for Finn Balor because he would lose. I feel like they would be very much, hey, have Damian win. But it wouldn't be a bad idea. And this is my personal opinion, but let's just kind of fantasy book for a second.
Yeah.
And tell me your reaction to this. But you break up the Judgment Day, WrestleMania, or Raw after WrestleMania. Rhea Ripley and Dominic Mysterio stay together. Finn Balor and Damian Priest completely break up. At that point, they've probably had a singles match at WrestleMania, right?
Yep.
Damian Priest stays on Raw as World Heavyweight Champion or whatever it may be, but he stays on Raw. Finn Balor ends up going to SmackDown.
Yep.
This allows Finn Balor to go as a top babyface on SmackDown, where now you could start, depending on what the roster looks like, you can have Finn Balor become a really good babyface to go against Karrion Kross.
Yep.
A very good babyface to go against Solo Sikoa or just anybody that's really a big heel on SmackDown, because we gotta start imagining what WWE is going to look like without Roman Reigns as champion
and post WrestleMania.
Yep. So that's the thing. I feel like WrestleMania it's a lot easier to predict what WrestleMania could look like.
Yep.
I think it's a lot more difficult to predict what post WrestleMania
look like after. Yep.
And I think it's long overdue for Finn Balor to be a top babyface in the company.
So do I. I think it's time for Finn. Obviously, he in NXT and stuff like that, he did absolutely outstanding work. But I think it's time for him to get the showing that he deserves. I think he could go on like a really good United States title or Intercontinental title run.
So actually, let me just propose this to you.
Okay.
Damian Priest wins the World Heavyweight Championship.
Yeah.
Finn Balor turns babyface and he feuds with Damian Priest and eventually wins it.
I don't mind that. I do not mind that at all.
It doesn't have to be the longest reign, but I say this because he got screwed from the injury from the Universal Championship.
Yeah.
It's just something that
but I think they're already playing into Damian being the good guy here.
So I know they are. Yeah, I think Damian Priest will be the one, which it makes sense, dude. Dude's a total rock star. He got the Bad Bunny thing over.
It's almost like seeing Razor Ramon as a good guy. You know what I mean? That's what it feels like. He's the guy. He is the guy.
There was some breaking news that I wanted to share with everybody.
Breaking news.
According to PW Torch, Seth Rollins suffered a legitimate injury to his left leg late in the WWE Raw main event. Multiple sources backstage at Raw say that he was helped in the back and eventually put weight on it. He is able to walk on his own, but he definitely has a limp. He is going to be further evaluated to determine the severity of the injury. So that's a little bit of some breaking news, again, from PW Torch.
Yeah.
Hopefully not serious, but
I hope not.
We're predicting things. We're talking about things that happen on the show, and I would be remiss not to say something about it because Royal Rumble's coming up. So if Seth Rollins is legitimately injured, Billy, what do? Do you vacate the belt?
Oh my word. I don't know. Do a 2-week tournament
You'd rather do a
winner
tournament?
do a 2-week tournament, face off at the Rumble for the title, Damian cash in, get back on track.
Interesting. I mean, I
That's
guess you
quick
could.
thought. That's quick thought.
It's tough. I don't know if this would be, by the sounds of it, without detail, it doesn't sound like this could be a thing that pulls Seth Rollins from WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Um,
If you put weight on it, that tells me that it wasn't like an ACL or anything like that, which is good.
well, some people can put a weight on their ACL, MCL, stuff like that. Some people,
Right.
But I only bring this up because, like we were saying earlier, WWE, for the first time in a long time, they have a lot of credible people that could be world champion.
Yeah, which is a good
But what
thing.
happens to CM Punk? Do you
That's
run with
the
CM
problem
Punk?
here.
Do you run with CM Punk winning the World Heavyweight Championship from Seth Rollins? Well, no, because if he got torn ACL or something like that, obviously that's not going to happen. But do you run a situation where CM Punk wins this tournament on Raw, becomes world champion, defends the belt at WrestleMania, and loses it?
I mean, if you want to keep pace of the story, yeah. And I feel like where CM Punk's at right now, like I feel like he'd be the guy to call kind of right away. Be like, hey, we're gonna give this to you.
Well, the cool thing about that is CM Punk could lose. I always talk about this on the Raw review shows, but CM Punk could lose at WrestleMania, Summer of Punk.
Yeah, you've said that.
Heel Punk. So you could technically go there. It's obviously first and foremost, hopefully, best of luck to Seth Rollins, because you never know with this type of stuff. There's a lot of injuries happening in pro wrestling right now.
And health is number one.
It really is, dude. It really is.
Yeah.
It's an interesting thing though, because for WWE guys, they have a lot of people ready to step up in case, but I think Seth Rollins is a very big part of the plans. Obviously, he's the world champion. So Judgment Day breaking up, Damian Priest cashing in, CM Punk, Drew McIntyre, Cody Rhodes, all these guys on Raw. There's a lot of different things that could be done here, but
absolutely.
I want to ask you something really quick.
Bring it on.
And I didn't bring it up earlier with Rhea and Becky. What the hell are they gonna do for Royal Rumble for Rhea Ripley?
That's something that I was gonna talk to you about actually, like in general, is like it feels like a lot of these championships, like they have the Royal Rumble match and then they have the actual the Fatal 4-Way.
Yeah.
I want to say those are the only two matches booked on that card right now. So
yeah, I think you're right.
What is Rhea gonna do? Praying for Seth to do okay, you know what I mean, and be okay. But right now, Seth, and then you have there's so many other names, you know what I mean, that are just all over the place. But other than that, I mean, it's weird to think that the Royal Rumble right now, only 2 weeks out, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Isn't fully booked, and I mean, you only have 2 weeks to get this stuff over.
It's always a smaller card because of the Rumble matches itself, but it does interest me to see what they go.
Yeah, but they still do like the big championship matches. Like they may not do the Intercontinental or the United States or anything like that, but they've always done like the women's, I feel like.
Yeah.
And then they do the World and the WWE Championship. At least to have those big matches on the card, because the Royal Rumble is a big pay-per-view, wouldn't you say?
It's big four.
Yeah. So
yeah, it's big four pay-per-view.
I mean, I'm very interested. Like we said earlier, though, in the stream, I think today was very much a progression show.
Yeah.
I think this is WWE firmly staying the course.
Yeah.
And I think they're actually I love the fact that they're not being reactionary here. So overall, not like not a mind-boggling show, but a good enough show to keep me interested. When you'd agree?
Yeah. Lenny, by the way, Wrong comment. Lenny said U.S. titles on the line at Royal Rumble, which is true. Kevin Owens, Logan
Oh
Paul.
yes, and Logan Paul. Yep.
So
You're
that
right.
is true.
Yep.
Which that'll be fun.
Yeah,
I'm
that'll
trying
be
to
a
think.
cool match.
They should do a tag team championship match at the Rumble. And you know what? Fuck it. I'm calling it right now. DIY versus Judgment Day at the Royal Rumble. Have them drop the belts. Have them drop the belts. Have them drop the fucking belts at Royal Rumble. It is time.
I hope somebody's watching this.
I genuinely I love like I said, there's a lot of praise towards booking. They're doing some really good stuff with this tag team division. It's getting back on track. They're obviously teasing a lot of stuff on SmackDown as well, so it's on both shows. Drop those titles at Royal Rumble. And
I agree.
Damian Priest doesn't need the tag title. He's got Money in the Bank. Finn Balor doesn't need the tag title. He needs Damian Priest. But unfortunately, he's going to lose Damian Priest when they're no longer champions. Start teasing the stuff for WrestleMania.
Let's start getting into it. Yep, so do I. Triple H knows what he's doing.
Lucky Kratos said they have to drop the titles to Awesome Truth. There's no way. Guys.
Awesome Truth, baby. Awesome Truth.
Why
not? You know? Who says no?
Me.
2011.
I say no.
Yeah.
Here's why.
Why?
Just very brief. R-Truth. There's too much money to be made with R-Truth in the Judgment Day. And, you know, it wouldn't be a bad idea for R-Truth. When I say this, I'm speaking kayfabe, by the way. R-Truth, being the dumbass that he is on TV, should be the one that cost Damian Priest to cash in. I believe that, personally speaking. But they're probably not going to go that route.
Hilarious.
It would, because R-Truth accidentally screws him over after all of this trust. Again, it goes down. Do you want Damian Priest as a babyface or a heel? Because if R-Truth accidentally screwed him over, Damian Priest would be livid. He'll literally destroy the living shit out of R-Truth. It would make for really good content. But again, it just depends. Do you want him as a top babyface or a top heel? That's why. But personally speaking, that's why I don't want R-Truth holding the tag title. I do want R-Truth involved with one serious run, which the good news is, depending on how you do the United States Championship, LA Knight, Santos Escobar, whatever, you could do some stuff with R-Truth right after. Long day, guys. Long day.
Oh, man. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Long day. But yeah, like I said, pretty eventful Raw in terms of progression and stuff. A lot of things being progressed. Nothing really. Oh my God, this was amazing. Actually, no, hold on. There was things I really liked. I really liked the Cody Drew McIntyre segment.
And I like the DIY stuff a lot.
I did too. I did like the main event ending. It popped me. They got me.
It got me out of my seat.
It got me thinking, hey, this is a possibility. But again, I want to see follow-up, and that's what we'll judge next week. Now, if there's no follow-up to Jinder Mahal and all of these things that are happening, I'll be the first one to criticize.
But they showed me that Shinsuke, there was a follow-up to that, so I do believe we'll get a Jinder follow-up.
Yeah. I still think they should put a faction together. So, last thing I will say, there's been a lot of talk about this new stage that WWE had today.
Yeah. Tell us, Ango. Why?
It's funny. So they had a new stage. The reason why it was done this way, it was a temporary situation based on the venue itself. There was limitations with the venue. I will say, I think, personally speaking, that it looked kind of cool. I kind of liked it. I personally liked it. It's temporary.
It looked more edgy.
I don't know if edgy is the word, but for two big LED screens, or you know how they do these LED screens, I kind of liked it. But since people are going to be talking about the new stage, it is not permanent. I already see the clickbait headlines that they're a permanent stage, whatever. WWE sources have indicated that it's temporary. So we'll see what happens. But just kind of keep that in mind. There is a new stage expected. But just kind of want to throw that out there. I did like it. I feel like they should just make it a little bit more permanent, but
we'll see.
Yeah. Oh, and last thing, I guess we'll read this.
Yes.
Only because this is an interesting topic. It has nothing to do with Raw, but it's an interesting topic, and I said, "Fuck it, we should talk about it." Lucky Kratos says, "Who do you think? Who do you think Solo faces at Mania if he has a match? I think he faces Brock at Mania." And I actually just wanted to point this out because we're talking about the Rumble. I think Brock Lesnar returns for the Royal Rumble.
I agree.
I think Brock Lesnar eliminates Gunther. And
I
I think
agree.
Gunther challenges Brock Lesnar to WrestleMania 40. Now, Billy, would you prefer to see Brock Lesnar versus Gunther or Solo Sikoa versus Brock Lesnar?
I mean, just for the dream match purpose, I prefer Gunther and Brock at Mania. But I will say, I don't think Solo needs a match this year. Is that crazy? I think you have Solo cost Roman.
Nah, Cody's got to beat Roman clean. But
You
when
could throw a
Cody
little bit of
beats
shenanigan.
when Cody beats Roman clean, have Solo Sikoa desert him on SmackDown
Yeah.
after Mania.
Yep.
Spike.
Yep.
There's no way you interrupt the biggest babyface win of all time right there.
That's fair. That's fair. That's fair.
But you could
But yeah,
build up.
I think I don't think Solo needs a match though in general this year. I still think he's a part of the bloodline thing and what they got going on. Now, obviously that can change over time. You know what I mean? You can maybe insert him into the right now United States title picture. You know what I mean? And maybe do something there.
Nah, he doesn't need to be doing any single stuff right now. I don't
That's
think
what
so.
I agree.
I would
I
much
don't-
rather have Solo Sikoa involved as Jimmy's manager at WrestleMania.
Yeah,
Try to get
sure.
involved with Jay.
Yeah.
Just something
Play
like
into
that
the
if
whole
you want him on
brother
the
thing.
card. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
I will say when Roman's gone, I think all three Usos need to be together.
Yeah, I agree.
100%. That needs to happen.
Yes, sir. I stand by that.
Nice. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we'll keep it at that. Like I said, nothing crazy, but good Raw.
Good Raw. Good Raw.
It's 12 o'clock, almost 12:30. Don't want to keep everybody too late on Monday night, so we'll call it a night. If you're not following Billy, youtube.com/BillyTKO. If you're not subscribed to me, you should click that subscribe button. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate you for watching The Ango Show.
Oh, yes.